Hi everyone, welcome to Tech Talk. Today we are here with our classroom 2 of Python tutorial, and today we are going to learn about basic data types of variables in Python. So without any further ado, let's get started. So before jump into in the section of data types, we need to know what are the variables. So variables are basically are the names where you can store your values, and those variables values can be changed according to your requirement. Those values can be varied. That's why they are called variables. So here in this program that we learned in our classroom one, you can see I'm printing this date time, this system's current date and time, but without any variable. I'm just printing it on the fly. I have used the print function and just giving this object and module name and object, and then the now method, and this now function, and this value is being published in our screen. So how can we get the same output using variables? Here, first of all, I'm going to remove this print function from here and removing the open and close parentheses as well. And I'm going to take the print function over here. Now, if I want to use a variable to store the value of this whole thing, which is going to show our current date and time of my system, I need a variable name that is, let's say, my now equals to datetime.datetime.now. Now if I'm going to print it, I don't need to write the whole thing over here. I just need to write print my now, and I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to run it. Just clicking on the upper arrows, it will show the previously executed command over here, and then I'm pressing enter, and you see this output I'm getting here. Now, the format of the variable names in Python must be named very carefully, because you can't use this plus or minus signs in the name of variable. If you use it, we'll have a syntax error over here. See, cannot assign to operator, because this minus sign is an operator. So Python is not expecting to use a assignment operator or any kind of operator in your variable name. And also you cannot use any number, because numbers are numbers. You cannot use in your variable's name. If you use, you will have another invalid syntax. So this is the case. This you need to remember whenever you are creating in your own variables. And your variable can store any kind of value, like here in my now we are saving our date time object in this variable my now, and you can save your number as well. My num equals to 10, and you can save it your own text as well. Okay, and then you can print it, print open and close parentheses, and I'm going to print my number comma my text, and I'm saving it and executing my program. Here you can see this 10 my number and hello is my text is going to print over here. And you can add any number of variables in print function as per your requirement. And here you can see that your variables, that one variable has a number and one variable has text, and this one is having a date time. So these are various types of your variables. So that's what we are going to learn in our this video. So here you can see that this variable is storing a value of a number, and this one is storing a value of a text, and this one is storing a value of a date and time. So these are the basically types of this variable. So we are going to learn it in detail in this video. So let's just take another example. Um Here I'm going to save one variable as x equals to 10, and one more here, y equals to, within quotes, 10, and I'm going to add it like sum 1. Yes, you can add a number in your variable name in the last of the variable name, not in the starting of the of your variable name. So I'm going to save it as sum 1 equals to x plus x, and sum 2 equals to y plus y. And now I'm going to print sum 1 and sum 2. Sum 1, sum 2. Great. Saving it and going to run it. Now, just look at it carefully. The first sum 1 is 20, because in sum 1 we are storing x plus x. X's value is 10, so it is doing 10 plus 10 equals to 20. And in sum 2 it is printed as 10 10. That means sum 2 is y plus y, so y's value is 10 but within quotes. So 10 plus 10, it is not printing as 20, it is printing as 10 10. That means it is not added the value of 10, it is just concatenating. This term is called concatenate, that it is adding 10 after 10, because this 10 within quotes is treated as a string type of your variable, and this without quote 10 is treated as an integer or as a number of your variables. So in other languages of programming languages, you can see the data types or the types of your variable is written like this: int, that means int is integer, and for string is str string, and without quote. You can see it in other programming languages, but in Python, we don't do this explicitly. The types are presented implicitly in Python. So if you write x equals to 10 without any quotes, that means it is treated as a number or as an integer. And if you do this y equals to 10 within quotes, it will treat it as a text or as a string value. And another variable type is z equals to, suppose, 10 dot 1. So it will be treated as float value, float type. So if you don't trust me, you can test it with type function very easily, like this: print type of x, comma, type of y, comma, and type of z. So if you add type function with your variable names in print function, and then you run your program, it will show the types of your variables. Like type of x is int, that is integer, type of y is string str, and type of z is float. So float means decimal number. So this is how you can determine any type of your any variables. So just now we have learned about three data types, that is integer, string, and float. So these are called as simple data types in Python, and Python has something called compound data types. That means in those data types, in those variables which are having compound data types, you can store multiple objects in it. So how to create a compound data type and what is a compound data types example, I'll show you. A list is a popular example of a compound data types variable in Python. So suppose you want to create a list which will show you the students' grades in your class. So list is a very good example where you can store your students' grades like this. Suppose I'm giving this list's name as student underscore grades equals to, and for creating list you will be using square brackets. So open a square bracket and close a square bracket, and then you can add the students' grades as follows. Okay, so this is the list type, and if you want to see it, you can do this as well with type function of this list variable, and if you run it, you will see the type of this variable is list. Now, what are the operations we can perform with the list? So we can see it as well. So for that, uh, I'm just splitting my terminal over here, and I'm going to open my Python interactive shell. So in Python, there is a function called dir. Dir will help you to determine what are the operations your data type has and what are the operations you can perform on it. So to use it, you have to write it dir, and within bracket, first bracket, you will have to write list and enter. Now these are the all attributes that is here we can perform with the list. Now it can be used as with any value like dir int, we can do it. So these are the add, and these are the other various operations that you can perform on int, and you can also do it with string value dir str. So these are the other attributes that you can perform on string. Like here you can see there is a thing called upper. So what is upper? And what is the use of upper? So to know this, Python is giving you another method that is called help, that will show what this attribute is and what is the attribute is used for. So you have to write help, and within first bracket you need to write the type, that is str, and dot and the attribute name, that is upper. So if you write it like this and press enter, it will show you that upper is a method, because see here is a round brackets over here, so that means it is a method and return a copy of the string converted to uppercase. That means if you give a string and if you use upper method with your string, it will convert your string to a uppercase. So let's test it. Suppose hello, and you have to write hello within a quotes, otherwise it will not treat it as a string value, and then dot and then upper, and then use round brackets, because after a method you must use a round bracket, and then if you press enter, you will see that hello is totally converted into uppercase hello. So same thing you can do with your variable as well. Suppose you are saving your hello within a variable, my text equals to hello. Now if you use my text dot upper round bracket and enter, you will have a same kind of output here. So this is the things that you need to remember, that with dir and with help you can see what are the attributes your data type has, your variable has, and what are the attributes it can be used for, and how those attributes can be used. So these things we can determine with help and dir. Now let's concentrate on list again. So if I do the same like there and see what is present for list over here. Okay, so these are the attributes that we can perform on list like clear, count, extend. But if I want to have a average of my student grades, but how can I do this? Because there is no average method or average or mean method over here to have a calculate the student's grade average. But that doesn't mean that we cannot have it. We can have an average of my student grades. So how can we do this? So for this, we will see dir underscore underscore built-ins. So these are it will show like dir built-ins. It will show some built-in features of Python uh, that we can use. It is they are not attached with a specific type or specific variable types or something. These are the built-in features of Python that Python is giving you in a nutshell. So and here we can see find if we can find an average method, but no, there is no average method I can see, but I can see a method called sum. So, okay, that we can use to calculate sum. And one more thing here to mention that this sum or the upper method of string, these are called methods. So basically, there are a thin difference between methods and functions. So what is the difference? Like if you remember, we use print, suppose 1. So it will print 1, and but it is not attached with any variable. It is not there is no need to write a dot or a full stop before using this print function. So these are not attached with any variable types. So this print is a function. So like this sum is a function of this is a built-in functions of Python. But if you see that upper method we just used, this upper is a method because though that upper is attached with the data type that is called string. So for that you will need to write your string first like this, and then you need to draw a dot, and then you need to use upper. So this upper is attached with a string type. So and you will need a dot to operate with upper. So this is called a method. So this is the difference between print and upper. That means met function and method. So here upper is a method like that. If we see the methods of list over here, where we just write it, yes, here dir list, and these are the methods of lists. Okay, so for that you need to write a list, then you need to use dot, and then you need to add these methods as per your requirement. But here if you see in built-ins, dir built-ins, when we do here the outputs are giving some built-in functions. So these are just function, not methods. So here we can see we have found it a sum function over here. So if I want to create a sum of my student grades, I need to write it my sum. Don't write it as sum because sum is a reserved keyword here. You can see in built-in. So you cannot use a reserved keyword for your variable name. So I'm just writing it my sum equals to sum student grades. Great. And to have my average, I'll need the count of the count of the uh, numbers that is present in within my student grades. So let's check if I have anything here related to count or something. Okay, here you can see there is a function called len, len len. So what is it? Just check it. Help len. Okay, so what is it saying? Return the number of items in a container. That means it will return how many numbers are there in my list. So that we can use like this: my length equals to len function and student grades. Now if I want to calculate my average grades, equals to my sum divided by my length. And now if I want to print it, I'll write print average grades. Great. I'm going to save it. I'm going to run my Python file. See, I'll see, I'll have my average returned here. So this is the operations you can perform with lists. So now if you see this student grades, that is a list of my students grades, but it is not showing whose grade is what. That means these grades are attached to some of my students, those who have their names as well, but these names are not stored here. So in list we cannot use to store the names of my students, and along with it we cannot store the values or the grades of my students. So to store like this, to store their names along with the grades, we need to use dictionary. So dictionary is another compound data types that Python is giving us. So dictionary basically is more useful if you are in a need of storing your students grades or your employees details or something, because some other some other values like your employee's name or your student's name is attached to your data. So that's why we are using student grades dictionary. So to write a dictionary, we need to use curly braces and then colon. Suppose my student's name is Mary, then colon, then with space. If you want, you can skip this space, but it is more readable if you give spaces between your key and your value. So Mary, and the grade is 9.1, comma, then Lisa, value is 8.9, comma, and next is the value is 7.5. Great. So this is a dictionary, and these are my dictionary's items. This whole thing is the item, one item. This is the second item. And the separate, if I separate these items, that this Mary within the colon is called keys and these grades are called values. So dictionaries are consisting of keys and values. They must be in pair. So if I want to denote my sum of my students grades here, I just cannot use sum function on students grades, because student grades is now having key and value pair. So what I can use, I can check it here like dir, like we do previously, dict. So these are the methods that dictionary has. Here you can see one method called values. So what is it? We can check it. Help dict dot values. Okay, so this dict dot values with parentheses is a method because it has parentheses over here, and it's an object providing a view on dictionary's values. So if I do it here, I can see what is the thing that is returned by values method. So I'm copying the dictionary here. Okay, so now if I do student grades dot values parenthesis. So see, this is what I am getting. This is the values only. So here you can see these values are stored in a square bracket. So square bracket is, we have used it while creating a list. But this thing, these values are not exactly the list, but it will behave like a list. Now on these values, this values, we can use our functions like sum. We can use it on our values. So we can give it here students grades dot values. Make sure you're giving the parentheses and we are saving it. And my sum is this. My length is okay, no problem. We can use length function on it in our students grid because the number of the items doesn't change here. And the average grade is this, print is this, everything is right. And we need to change this name of my list, otherwise Python will get confused that which student grades it will calculate. So list we can more use for are suppose temperature values of my whole day. Suppose you want to store your Monday temperature. So that values of temperatures in whole Monday, what are the values of temperature, you can store it in a particular list that you can store it. But for for operating your students grades, because they are attached to some students names as well, some identity of your students, you need to use this dictionary. So I'm saving it, and if I want to run it, I just uh, click on the upper arrow and enter, and see, I'm getting the output as 8.5. That is my average grade of my students. Next thing what we are going to learn is tuples. So tuples are mostly similar with list, but there is a difference between them. So first difference what I'm going to show you is the syntax difference. Like if you want to temperature, if you want to store the temperature of your Monday, so I'm going to save it here. Just going to take the same temperatures here. But the syntax difference is here is tuples we use round parentheses and list we use square brackets. So here I'm going to save it, and you can see that this is a tuple if we use the round parentheses for storing of our data or our array values. So apart from it, we are going to see what are the other differences between list or and tuples. So first difference is tuples are immutable and lists are mutable. That means if I'm going to take this list over here, oops, okay, this is my list and this is my tuple. I'm going to take it here in my Python interactive shell. And now if I want to change my list values, that means if I want to add something, I have to use append method for list. So Monday temp dot append, I'm going to add it 6.3. Okay. So now if I want to see my Monday temp, you will see that 6.3 is added over here. But if you see, if I add Monday underscore temp 2, that is a tuple here. If I want to add it, add something over here in my tuple, that is 6.3, you will see an attribute error. That tuple object has no attribute as append. That means there is no chance you can add or you can remove or you can change your tuple on the runtime. But for lists, you can do these things. You can append, you can remove like this. If you want to remove it, remove 6.3, and now if you want to check it again, you will see that 6.3 is removed from your list. So, but we cannot do the same thing with our tuple. So tuples are immutable and lists are mutable. And one more difference is that tuples are more fast to operate with, but lists are a bit slow than the tuples. But in your program, in your Python program, you must think before using what are you are going to use, a list or a tuple, because you need to keep it in mind that, those values of your list or your tuples are going to change in your further program or not. Because if it is going to change in your program, then tuples you cannot work with, you have to work with lists. So that is the main thing you need to remember. So I hope you have understood the whole data type section of Python, the same simple data types and the compound data types as well. Here, three things you need to remember to write a Python code or a Python program. The first thing is the syntax of your Python. That means for list you need to use square brackets over here. For tuple you need to use round brackets, and for as dictionary, you need to use this key pair values with curly braces. And the second thing is to know the proper data structure for your particular scenario. That means if you are going to if you're going to operate with your student grades, then dictionary is a better choice than list. These things you need to understand and you need to remember while you are doing your Python coding. And the third thing is you should know the algorithms. That means if you're going to calculate your average, you must know the formula of average, that is sum divided by length of your items. So these three things you must keep in mind while you are programming. And at starting it might be a slow process for you, but with practice and with time you will be surprised where you have reached. So stay tuned with us, and we'll be coming back very soon with our next classroom. And please do like, share and subscribe our channel Tech Talk. And till then, bye bye, see you soon.